Talk about the news du jour, du semaine. I'm sure there's other ways of phrasing it. Things that you might have missed whilst otherwise engaged in the dystopian desiderata of daily life.
All right, let's talk about the news. Happy progress news. So in April, construction began on the US's first high-speed rail project, or it will be the first once it's completed. This is going to connect Las Vegas to the Los Angeles suburbs. And we'll see if they finish it, because there have been other projects planned that have not gone through with construction, delays, ballooning costs. There's some optimism around this one.
I don't know about Las Vegas to LA as the most important test case. Like that one may be primed for, if not failure technically, but failure commercially, just because it's never going to become a metropolitan corridor, right? Like there's too much desert between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. If you've ever done that drive, it's not like that corridor is going to become Boston to DC, which, you know, in some sense is becoming ever more of a 300-mile metroplex. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting one. Obviously, the one that would have made the most sense would be taking the current Acela, which is our version of high speed. I can see an electric car future. It seems to me like the United States in particular is so wedded to, and its economy is so bound up in interstate roads and driving. But I guess we'll see.
So look, you can take that up with Brightline West, which is the company that chose LA to Las Vegas. And apparently the reason why they chose it is because they have done some profitability reports, somebody somewhere, that talks about the sweet spot of high-speed rail projects being a certain amount of kilometers that might not necessarily be a commuter route or a metropolitan corridor. California is trying to build one between, I think, San Francisco and LA.
Yeah,
that's one of the two major cities.
Yes.
They haven't broken ground, apparently. There's the costs have like quintupled, sextupled. This one, they've actually started, so I'm giving them props. They are optimistic, or this Bloomberg article where I read it was optimistic about profitability. I'm assuming they chose it for a reason, but we'll see.
Let's hope so.
So did you know that in Japan, until April, that if you were a couple going through a divorce, you actually had to choose which parent got sole custody of the child? There was no negotiations for joint custody, which I find rather archaic, to be honest.
Yeah.
They updated the law in April, so from 2026 onward, divorcing couples can file for joint custody. They can decide amongst themselves or decide amongst mediating attorneys, whatever the case may be, some kind of joint custody arrangement, which I would imagine is better for the children, no?
I would think so. You know, it's certainly to deny a child not just a joint family, but an entire parent is, I think, adding insult to injury, to say the least. And there's some evidence that, you know, divorces where both parents remain heavily involved are profoundly better than any alternative, except for parents staying together, except if they're in an abusive, unhealthy, toxic relationship, blah, 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 blah.
Good for Japan. They've had a rash of like kind of liberalizing a lot of their sort of like marriage and social codes around women recently in the last couple of years. They've done a lot of stuff.
Although it's interesting, I mean, it's all unfolding under the framework of rapidly shrinking and aging population, you know, birth rates being well below replacement in Japan. They're not quite as low as they are in South Korea, but still, you know, hovering around 1.2 per couple, which is just, Japan's going to shrink precipitously in the 21st century. So it's all sort of in the backdrop of that.
Yep. And all of a sudden they're also designing policies limited to the workplace. Same reason. So yeah, I will probably continue seeing changes like this one. So last but not least for today, England and Wales has decided to make creating sexually explicit deepfakes. So, you know, when you take someone's face and put it on someone else's body or just create it wholesale, a criminal offense. So it is a criminal offense regardless of whether you meant to share that deepfake or not. So the simple creation of it is illegal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That has already led to 2 of the world's largest deepfake porn sites, which was a category that, to be honest, I didn't really know existed. They already started blocking visitors from the UK.
One of the members of the Progress Network, Danielle Citron, has been very active about this. We had a conversation with her, and I think a few years ago in pandemic Zoom events that we did. She's been really active in, like, this is an area where the law just hasn't really caught up to technology. There actually had been no clear laws about something that is so clearly abusive and potentially, aggressively destructive. So I think you're going to see more and more of this as people try to work out, like, what the realm of free speech is and where that bleeds into abusive, illegal behavior.
Yeah. The article in it was fascinating because it was a BBC article that I read it on, but they interviewed, I think, a Channel News reporter in the UK that had deepfakes created of herself. So it was a very interesting blend of like journalist, giving a quote on something that she was personally affected by. But I don't know if it's the first of its kind, this law. I'm not sure. I didn't check up on that. But as you said, we'll probably see more and more of this coming into the future.
Yeah. And we're going to see more and more of it, certainly in the political realm. I mean, I think all of us have seen hilarious, sort of jokey deep fakes of, there was one going around a few months ago, maybe it's still going around, of like an AI enhanced Biden and Trump fighting or doing a dance. All those are really kind of deep fakes, and that they are taking the imagery and creating photorealistic videos that are fake. So, what I think will be even harder, although people I know who are working on this say that it may be harder to identify fakes increasingly, being able to tell the difference between them and real. There's also the technology of being able to identify whether they're fake or real continues to get better as well. So kind of action reaction.
Yeah. In studies of whether computer models or humans are better at identifying deepfakes, humans perform just as well as the computer models because they're able to ask like themselves context clues about the situation, which the computer model can't do.
Right. So humans are able to go, really? Does this scan with anything I know as being possible? Whereas a computer may not have the context mechanism behind it. Interesting.
Yep, 100%. So little point of silver lining, little glimmer of hope in the AI deepfake world that's coming towards us fast.